Three, two, one.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Fantasy Football Happy Hour podcast. Week 1 of the NFL season is upon us. I know you are excited. I'm excited too. And as we will do all year during the season, I will be talking about some games of the week, some sit starts, and then I will end with my picks against the spread. Already 1-1 this week. We've had 2 games already. I picked the Eagles -6.5. They did not quite cover, but I picked the Chargers +2.5, and they did cover. So 1-1 to start the week. I'll have the rest of my picks against the spread down at the bottom. But as I mentioned, there have been 2 games, so let's dive in. Well, probably biggest on the news and notes is Quinshon Judkins signed a 4-year deal. He signed it yesterday. That means the last of the draft picks is signed. Not expecting to see him play this week. Don't know when he will make his debut and what exactly his snap counts will be. Also looming out there is the fact that the NFL may still suspend him for a period of time, even though he won't face criminal charges. There is probably enough to lock him up on a personal conduct suspension. Don't know how long that would be. I don't think the Browns are going to be incredible anyway, but those who took Quinshon Judkins in rookie drafts, especially before we knew there was even going to be a problem, probably breathing a little bit of a sigh of relief. Well, with that in the books, let's talk about some of the games that have already taken place. The Thursday night game wasn't on Prime Video this week. It was on NBC, but it saw the Philadelphia Eagles playing host to the Dallas Cowboys. Also had a weather delay that lasted more than an hour. Not the way the NFL was hoping to see the season start. We saw a lot of scoring early. The Eagles come away with the 24-20 victory. We will wait and see what happens to Jalen Carter, who was ejected before even taking the first snap after spitting on Dak Prescott. There is some discussion. There will be further punishment from the NFL. Does that mean a fine? Does that mean another suspension? We shall see. But a decent start to the NFL season. Friday night, we went to Sao Paulo, Brazil, where the Chargers hosted the Kansas City Chiefs. The Chiefs lost a player early in the game, too, but this was friendly fire on a crossing route. Travis Kelce and Xavier Worthy collided. Worthy was knocked out for the game. May actually miss some time going forward. We haven't heard a lot of updates. We will wait and see. Hollywood Brown stepping up pretty big in his stead. Kelce had a couple of receptions, including a long touchdown. But the Chiefs, if they're missing Worthy, they already still have Rashee Rice suspended. Could be a bit of a blow. But it was Justin Herbert who looked great on opening night, going for more than 300 yards and 3 touchdowns. 2 to Quentin Johnson, who looked much improved over where he's been the last couple of years, and 1 to old friend Keenan Allen, who's back in the lineup. They didn't do a lot on the ground, but they did get the 27-21 victory. Chargers start out 1-0, Chiefs 0-1. So those are the first 2 games we had. What are the big games for the rest of the week? Well, it's time for your favorite segment and mine, Games of the Week. If you don't know how this works, I pick my games of the week. I pick one game in each of the windows. Of course, when you talk about Sunday and Monday Night Football, not a lot of competition. But for the day games, Sunday early games, my game of the week is the Las Vegas Raiders at the New England Patriots. Raiders, first game under Pete Carroll. We also get to see the debut of rookie Ashton Jeanty. We get to see Geno Smith as a Raider. Should be interesting. And we get to see the debut of Mike Vrabel's Patriots. They worked on building up some offensive weapons, including rookie Travion Henderson. I'm excited to see him. And veteran receiver Stephon Diggs, who becomes a new anchor for Drake May. Drake May also has Josh McDaniels there now, so I think this could be a good one and a fun one. There are a couple of interesting ones in the early window, but that is the most prime matchup. Sunday late game window, you could go with anything other than the Detroit Lions and Green Bay Packers. If you followed my picks from last week, I think both these teams are going to do quite well. Micah Parsons is expected to play, though probably limited on a little bit of a snap count. The Lions going first game with a new offensive coordinator and defensive coordinator, but still a very talented roster. They just came up with a new contract extension for Jameson Williams yesterday. So the Lions, they were a 15-win team last year. Packers were an 11-win team. I think both these teams are going to be motivated to start out strong. I expect plenty of Josh Jacobs in this one, which we will talk about in a minute. Sunday Night Football, probably the best game on the Sunday slate. The Baltimore Ravens at the Buffalo Bills. Both these teams were prime contenders last year, figure to be prime contenders again this year. They met in the divisional round, which was an epic game. I think this is an incredible way to kickstart the season. Looking forward to seeing it. And then Monday Night Football to wrap up week one. Minnesota Vikings, first game of J.J. McCarthy's starting career at the Chicago Bears. First game for Ben Johnson at the helm in Chicago. These teams have some loaded offensive skill position players, so we'll probably end up with a 10-9 kind of game because that's the way fantasy goes in week one. But those are my games of the week. Should be the fun games to check out. Well, we have come to the time for Sit Start. So the way this works, I will give you one sit and one start at each of the four positions. The metric I am trying to hit is top 12 for quarterback and tight end, top 24 for running back and receiver. So at quarterback, my start is Drake May. I mentioned it's, the return of Josh McDaniels. May got that starting job in week 6 last year and started through week 17. During that time, he was QB 14, and that was with kind of a train wreck of a team around him. This offseason, they loaded up on weapons. I mentioned Diggs. They brought in veteran Matt Collins, rookie Kyle Williams. They also brought back McDaniels as offensive coordinator. I think they worked on beefing up the offensive line. I see good things from May this season, and I think that starts with a home game in week 1 against the Raiders. My sit this week is Jordan Love. Look, he was solid in 2024, but he was only quarterback 17. Again, we are trying to reach for top 12. He was good for the Packers, and he's solid in Superflex, but he wasn't a QB1. The Packers are a run-first team. I think that figures to continue again this week at home against a good Lions team. Add to that, Love is coming off of a procedure on his thumb, and there are definitely questions about his receiving core. Christian Watson is out. Jaden Reed is sort of trending that way. Dontavian Wicks is banged up. Look, he's a QB2 for me this week. Might be a QB2 for me all season long. Well, let's transition over to running backs. I'm not out on the Packers, as you will see a little bit later. My start this week at running back is Josh Jacobs. I had reservations about the Packers' passing volume, but I don't have any reservations about Jacobs. Since his arrival in Green Bay, he seemed to be the perfect match of player, scheme, and desire for the team. In the first meeting in 2024, Jacobs rushed for 95 yards on 13 carries against the Lions. In their second matchup, he added 3 rushing touchdowns. He's a weapon, and I think he's going to be key to the Packers getting off to a good start. My sit is Jaylen Warren and Caleb Johnson of the Pittsburgh Steelers. Look, the Steelers made a variety of changes this offseason. Najee Harris is gone, and he's probably gone from your fantasy lineup too, based on the volume he got with the Chargers. In his place, the team drafted Johnson. A lot of people are excited about Caleb Johnson and his prospects in the offense, but you know what? He's only listed as running back 3 on the depth chart right now. Warren didn't have a great preseason. He's listed as a starter. This team's on the road against a good Jets defense. I'm staying away from the Pittsburgh backfield until we can get a better feel for it. On to wide receivers, and call me a homer if you must, but my start this week is Courtland Sutton. He was the Broncos' number 1 receiver in 2024, got a monster extension this offseason as a team captain. He's clearly the team's top target. It's fair to wonder what the backfield rotation will be, who will rise to the top as wide receiver 2, what role Evan Ingram will have at tight end. But it's clear Bo Nix and Sutton have great chemistry. In the third preseason game, with the starters playing into the second quarter, Sutton started 7 times and caught 4 passes for 83 yards and a touchdown. They are already in a groove. And I think that's going to pay dividends at home on Sunday. My sit is also from that game, and it's Calvin Ridley of the Tennessee Titans. Look, I know Calvin Ridley is the Titans' best receiver. He's probably the receiver best in line for a big season with rookie Cam Ward, but that's not likely to happen in week one. Ward is a rookie who will be making his first start on the road in Denver. That's not only a place where the altitude provides an advantage, but Denver's defense is also among the best in the NFL all around, particularly at pressuring the quarterback. In addition, Ridley is likely to see a solid dose of Patrick Surtain II, who's the reigning defensive player of the year. Look, all that just adds up to a game where I'm not trusting Calvin Ridley to give me a top 24 day. The Broncos have a great secondary. They have a great pressuring defense. It may be a long day for Cam Ward and the Tennessee Titans. How about tight end? Well, it's hard to think of anyone I'd be more excited to start at tight end in week one than George Kittle. He finished as tight end 3, but he averaged more points per game last year than Brock Bowers or Trey McBride. In 2025, well, he might do even better. He's the best receiver for the 49ers, who have plenty of questions at the wide receiver position. I think he has a great chance to finish as the tight end 1 this season. That starts, for me, with a big week against the Seahawks in week 1. My sit is Dalton Kincaid. Look, I like Kincaid. I like his fit for the Bills. I like his potential for fantasy. He had the second most targets for the Bills last season, too, despite only playing in 13 games. But he's battled injuries in the preseason. It's not an ideal matchup against the Ravens. And I'm just not confident anyone really gets great volume in that game. I think 2 good defenses, 2 explosive teams. There are a lot of weapons. There are a lot of options. I trust Josh Allen and James Cook on the ground, but it's hard to believe that Dalton Kincaid will get enough volume to finish as a tight end 1 this week. So he is unfortunately my sit. Well, we've looked at games of the week. We've looked at sit starts. We've talked about the games that already took place. Let's wrap up by looking at picks against the spread. As I mentioned, I'm already 1-1 this week. I called both winners correctly, but the Eagles did not get a full touchdown up on the Cowboys. So moving on to today's games, I'm taking the Atlanta Falcons plus 1.5. I actually think they get the win straight up over the Tampa Bay Buccaneers at home. I'm taking the Bengals minus 5.5 on the road in Cleveland. I'm taking Miami plus 0.5 on the road in Indianapolis. These teams kind of a toss-up, but I'm going with Miami. I'm taking the Patriots minus 3.5 at home against the Raiders. I don't think it'll be a blowout, but I think the Patriots can get a solid win. I'm taking the Arizona Cardinals minus 3.5 on the road at New Orleans. As I mentioned before in the last few weeks, I don't think the Saints are a very good team. I'm taking the Jets plus 2.5 at home over the Steelers. Call me crazy, but I think the Jets get that one of those interesting week 1 victories at home against the Steelers. I'm taking the Washington Commanders minus 6.5 at home against the New York Giants, and the Jacksonville Jaguars minus 2.5 at home against the Carolina Panthers. I like both the Panthers and the Jaguars to look a little better this year than they did last year. I'm taking the Broncos minus 6.5 at home over the Tennessee Titans. I think that defense and a good offense with Bo Nix will be too much. I'm taking the Seahawks plus 1.5 at home over the 49ers. Look, everybody's on the 49ers. I think both those teams are going to be good, but I like the Seahawks to get an opening day win at home. Same for the Packers. I'm taking them plus 0.5 at home over the Lions. I think the Packers will squeak out a win at home to get the season started off well. I'm taking the Los Angeles Rams minus 2.5 at home over the Houston Texans. Hopefully Matthew Stafford is as healthy as they claim. I'm taking the Buffalo Bills minus 1.5 at home over the Baltimore Ravens. That should be a heck of a game. And I'm taking the Chicago Bears minus 0.5 at home over the Minnesota Vikings. I'm not high on the Vikings this year, and I think Chicago will get started off well. Well, that's a look at my take on this week and week 1 games. Hope you're having a lot of fun. It is exciting that we have the NFL back. Check back next week, and we'll be here for week 2. More start advice, games of the week, and, of course, picks against the spread. We'll see how I do the rest of week 1 and bring that into week 2. But until then, hope you guys enjoy a strong NFL Sunday.